So this is one area, and I want to show some action functions related thing also. Anyway, today what I want to do is I want to show you how to use Eclipse also. Okay, because I'm new to Eclipse platform, so I want to have, I need email address, username, and token for logging into Eclipse, and I'm going to create a project for it now. So if you have already created the if you already created the project, you can also open that project here. Might be that is Salesforce training partner, or this is the organization which I'm trying to load again. But I want to create a new project in my Eclipse now. Clicking on new force.com project, because now I want to code my VisualForce programming from Eclipse. Okay. Okay. Training .NET.org. I want to copy down the username of this so that I can put it down the project name. This is for identifying it. It's you can give any project name, okay. And the username is same thing, and password is one. And token, I have to reset the token. I have got the token because I have just now resetted the token. It is the token for 100 demo org. I'm copying it here, and the current edition is production edition. Okay, this is I think all the developer editions, production editions, enterprise developer editions also will come into this edition type. So if it is a sandbox, developer sandbox or QA sandbox, you have to select this sandbox. If it is pre-release sandbox, means sometimes you generally have one more similar production related organization, that's the release organization. Before releasing things to production, you deploy things to here and you try it. That's a different organization. And if some organizations will have a custom endpoint instead of login.salesforce.com. Some big companies will take a separate server on their company name. Means if you are having separate domain, you can use specify. I have to click on other and specify, and I have to enter the host name. What is the login endpoint? Okay. In general case, we are using login.salesforce.com, and sometimes for sandboxes we use test.salesforce.com. Okay. So this is for pre-login sandbox. In our case, I have to select the production and developer edition, and this is the timeout in seconds. So the request means if you are trying to download the data from the project, means it's on cloud, right, completely, you have to, means this is the session timeout time which I'm configuring here. If your internet speed is too low and if your server is not responding properly, you have to increase the time. Yeah, I can even use your Eclipse also, but I think I want to try it now, but I can share your screen and I will try to. If you have any issues, I can show that to you, Rahul, because I want to quote some examples from my system now, because if I'm going from your system, it will take some time for me to type or taking control of your system. So if you have any issues with Eclipse installation, I can share some link to you. Okay, so latest Eclipse versions it won't support, like very latest versions. It supports 3.7, 3.8, and 4.1 also, because I'm using 4.1. About Eclipse, this is Juno, means it's the latest version of Eclipse. But there are some more latest editions if you go to eclipse.org. Don't download that. So check your developer.force.com, and you can use Juno also. Juno, there are a lot of editions, right? After 3.6 it supports all. Yeah, this is some. See, I'm using multiple Eclipse. This also have the same similar Salesforce plugin. That is a different Eclipse. This is Galileo. It's a very old one, so you might have using this. Okay, okay. Yeah, I want to close this again. There are a lot of projects here again. Okay. So now I want to see after selecting I came to the previous Eclipse edition. There are multiple options for downloading the content of your project. The first option, the general option most people use is the first option. You just need Apex, VisualForce pages, triggers, components, and static resources. If you want that resources only, you can select this option. So most people use these resources a lot in developing from Eclipse. They develop everything in Eclipse, these resources. So if you want to even download the objects, validation rules, views, there are a lot of things. If you want to do that, I have to click on select metadata components on my own. Okay. Choose. It opens a new window so that I can select. See, it's loading all the type of components available on Salesforce. There are many components. There will be separate component for approval process, workflow rules, validation rules. Everything is in the form of metadata in the XML format. This is after 5 minutes we will be starting working on the. So let's till the time. So it takes a couple of minutes, a couple of seconds actually. So let's come here. Simple animation. Okay, so I have some examples for each and everything, and I do have. So, can someone tell me why we use action polar? So we use action polar to refresh uh, at some interval of time, right? To refresh or calls an action at some interval of time. The action, what you are calling, will send you some new data to your component. Okay. So, I think after extending this example, I will go back to the Eclipse. I will open the VF sheet. So action polar. So this is a timer that sends a request at specific interval of time where you can configure that interval on your as attribute in the tag. So this is a tag. You can configure the interval time in this tag. We are going to work on this example. So if you want to see this example, yeah, it's really very simple thing. I would like to show in the next example. So this is having controller class. So this is not the static, means it's static class. I'm just simply showing some static information, but I'm taking the help of controller class also. That is this Ajax class. Ajax class is the controlling class for action polar page, because the action polar, this is action polar page, controller equal to Ajax class. When I have configured this, means I'm trying to use this controller. This is Apex class, controller class, and it's here. Okay, and this is the Apex class, and it's simply like very basic Java class. So here we have to initialize some variables, initialize methods. We have to do some logic in some methods to support your front-end VF page. For suppose here, wow, tell me what all variables I'm using in this page. I have to configure that. I have to initialize that variables, describe that variables inside the Apex class. Because if I'm simply giving name, it won't give, because I need to define that variable inside the Apex class. So this is Apex form tag. Inside that, I'm using output label. The reason why I'm using form is I have a form tag. This is the form tag. That's the reason I'm using Apex form. If you as I said, if you are using any of the form tag like input text or input field, input checkbox, or output labels, output text, these are all form tags. If you're using any of this tag, you have to use the parent tag as form tag also. So here in this is the tag, and in this tag you have a variable called name. All the curly brackets with exclamation mark inside that, there is a variable, right? That's the variable you are trying to show. That's the dynamic data you are trying to show on the page. This data is coming from your controller class. Let's see. This is the name variable, and there is one more variable. There is no variables except this. This is the class actions. If you see action, it's a method. Change name, unchanged name is the methods. So now there are 4 items. One is class, variable, and 2 methods in this page. Now I have to go back to my controller class and check whether these things are available here or not. Class is available here. This is the class. The same name will be shown here. And there are 2 methods. What are that? Change and unchange. Change is here, and unchange, sorry, change name and unchange name is here. I think this is some dummy method. Yeah. So this method is not having any significance here in this class. This is a method which is not used in our class. Okay. So these 2 methods we are using, change name and unchange name. There are 2 methods, and so yeah, this is the constructor class, constructor method for this Apex class. What is constructor method? Constructor method will be automatically called whenever you are calling the class. If you are calling this class, Ajax class, from this page, it automatically calls the method with the same name. The constructor method will be in the with the name of the class name only. See, Ajax class is this is the constructor method. Inside that I am calling, so name equal to controller technologies. So I'm initializing name variable inside my inside my constructor method. This is class, Constructor method is the default method for each automatically created. Okay. So inside that constructor method, I have assigned some name to the variable that is string. String is the variable which I showed you on the page, which I am trying to print on the screen, right? So whenever I am opening this page will call this Ajax method as it is linked to the controller, and when I'm calling this class, Ajax class, it automatically calls this Ajax class, okay, and all the variables which are defined on the top will be defined like public string name. This is the initialization of variable. Means there is a variable called name which is a string. This is the simple initialization. Okay, and here I am assigning some value to that inside the constructor method, name equal to controller technologies. Now when you call this class only, this is calling this and it's assigning some value to that is controller technologies. Later on, I'm coming back to my, so the task is done. So till here everything is good, and I came back to my action polar page. So action polar page is having a simple action polar tag, and this is having interval equal to 5, okay, and action is change name. After 5 interval, okay, after 5 seconds, you should call this method, okay, after loading this page, okay. Now, and render OL. What is OL? OL is the ID of the output label. The data what you are displaying here is output label. That's printing data from the word name, from the variable name. Okay. So after 5 seconds, this will be refreshed. I'm calling this action method, and after finishing this action, I'm going to re-render, means refresh this component, that is output label component. Let's go to change name. What's happening in change name? Come here. The default name is controller technologies. Okay. After calling the change name method, public void change name method, I'm changing the name, the variable name equal to good morning. Okay. After 5 seconds, I'm calling this method, and this in terms is doing these changes in the name variable. Okay. Now after calling this method, what I said is a re-render attribute in this tag will refresh this component. Means after 5 seconds, I am refreshing this component from controller technologies to good morning. Okay. Later on, there is one more action follow statement which calls after 10 seconds, 10 intervals. Okay. And I'm calling this action called unchanged name, and I'm refreshing the same component. If you go back to again unchanged name method, there is unchanged name method, and this method is changing again name to controller technologies from good morning. So that is the reason this action polar is helping us to automatically refresh at some interval of time from one name to other name, another name to other name. So this is getting repeated because we are refreshing this component OL, and that in turn is calling these intervals frequently one after the other. Okay. So re-render keyword is useful for refreshing the component defined there. So I'm clicking on refresh. Now see the requirement how it looks like. First the name will appear as controller technologies. Later on, after 5 seconds, it will be changed to good morning, again to Computer technologies. Good morning. Yeah. So we are switching the names of that. That's the basic example. So here we are using classes. So I have not talked about classes. Okay. I simply introduced about all the tags, methods available on the cheat with Apex, but I have a guide for that. Let's go back to our Eclipse before going to Apex introduction. Okay. It's saying that there is no this particular package. That's okay. The FlexiPage and external data source are newly introduced by Salesforce, which are not available with this Eclipse plugin. That's the reason it's asking me. Okay. There are exceptions. Clicking on OK. Now it shows a new window with all the components. These are all the components. Remember, all the account criteria sharing rules, applications, avatars, what you created, approval process, assignment rules, auto response rules, call centers data. Every data, classes, communities, components, it's in the form of alphabetical order. Dashboards, even the dashboards also are shown in the form of XML data. What component are you using and what source are you mapping to the component, all this stuff. Documents, emails, even the emails, everything. Email templates also will be here. I'll show that. Letterheads is here, labels, and pages, objects, custom, object standard, everything. I'm trying to sync all the data for showing how it looks like. If I'm selecting this, I'm trying to sync all the data into my Eclipse. Clicking on OK. So this option is for selecting all the resources or resources what you want to select. You can also pick 4 resources or 5 resources, 5 components from the list of all the available components. Okay. And this is for downloading only this specific classes, triggers, pages, components, and static resources. And for suppose if you have created any packages, if you want to download that, I can use this contents of package of bookman package like this. I can download it. Clicking on finish. Some organizations will use packages for deploying. They create unmanaged package and they will try to share that link to the QA organization. They can install that in that complete package and they can try it. If there is any errors, yeah, they will log some defects in the tool, and the developer team will fix it, and they will get one more package with the new fixes. That's how they use the deployments. So the packages are generally useful for creating App Exchange applications. So in App Exchange applications are managed packages, but you can use unmanaged packages for deploying to other instances internally to your company. Okay. It's taking some time to load the data from the Salesforce instance because you are now loading all the data, all the metadata of your instance. So in this Eclipse, you are not going to download the records what you have created, but the metadata, the backend schema of the account object, contact object, leads object, every data will be synced to the system. So going to one more example. Let's try with this. Okay. Action support. So here also I'm using the similar class action support. Okay. These are all examples which are really similar. Okay. Yeah. So here in this case, I'm not using the time interval. I'm using the JavaScript event called mouse over on mouse over event. If I'm taking my mouse over this, it changes the name. So it's changing really fastly. Okay, it's really fast. I can even change. So I have not kept any interval lag like this. So if I want to do changes, because if I'm commenting this line, I can see the changes immediately. Or I can do only one change, not two changes. Okay. If I'm going to here, changing to the other name, what happening in other cases, when I'm taking to this place, there are two mouse over events on by two action support tags. Both are calling simultaneously and it's changing very fast. Okay, that's the reason I commented this line. So action support. So we are supporting this component OL. Okay. So there is a name. This is the same way what we have done. Okay, in the previous example also. We replaced only the action follower tags with action support tags. And when I'm bringing my mouse cursor on top of it, the first action support, it's already refreshed and now because the same method is calling. The change name method will only change from controller technologies to good morning, not and the second method will change from, or else I can do one thing. I can change the event name. On mouse click. Okay, now see, I'm going here. It's saying good morning, and when I'm clicking it, I don't know whether what item should be on mouse over on mouse out. First of all, I'm going to the component reference to check the attributes what action support will support. See, yeah. So on mouse click is not there, on click is there simply. I'm using on click function now instead of on mouse click on mouse. So that's it. Clicking on save. Now when I'm bring my mouse here, it says good morning. The first method is first action method, action support tag is using now, and I'm clicking on it. It's using the second action support tag, and the event which I use is on click, and action which I'm calling is on change name. So this is the same thing. Okay. For changing the name, I have to, from control A to good morning, I have to bring my mouse on top of it. Now it won't change. If I click on this button, now it changes to control A technologies. Again, if I move my cursor, it changes. That's how it works. Here, I'm using the event attribute, and I'm using the JavaScript events on mouse over on click. So these are the events available which is supported by action support. So this component adds Ajax support to another component, allowing component to be refreshed asynchronously by the server with a particular event occurs like this. These are all DOM events. Okay. Yeah, that's it. I can also call some actions. As I'm doing it in the current page, I'm calling the actions in the Ajax class. That's this. So change name and then change name. See here, if you remember, I'm using the same class for this class and as well as action for our class also. Now a class can support a number of pages. Okay, but you need to make sure that all the variables what you are trying to show it on the page or using in the page should be available in that class. Okay, these are custom controller classes. It's a custom controller. Okay, standard controller will be having attribute called standard controller equal to object name. For custom controller classes, you can give any names, but for standard controllers, you have to give only the object names in your system. Right? Let's go back to our Eclipse. I don't know what's happened to it. It's not responding. So therefore, till the time I can show you some page. So some page where we built. So there are pages with more than 4,000 lines of code also, but that's the complex page. We have done this page for this is a very big page where we are including a lot of scripts. This complete project is completely done on one page. Okay, one VF page. It's using standard controller and extension classes. And see, these are all scripts which we are including in this page. These are our third-party scripts. What are scripts? Okay, see, JavaScript. So there are multiple ways of including JavaScript. One is if there is a jQuery library like these type of famous libraries, we are using it for reducing the number of JavaScript lines in your page, and it also reduces the effort of the developer also. For suppose if you are writing custom logic on your page, what you can do is you can write in some JavaScript xyz.js file separately, and all the logic, all the custom logic what you are writing on this page will be copied down to the JavaScript, and I can upload that into static resources, and I will include here in the include script. See, in the include script value equal to URL for resource. Resource tag is generally useful to reference static resources. Dot DSA underscore assets is the name of the folder. Okay, and vendor is the subfolder name. Inside it there is a JavaScript file, JavaScript library file. This is how we are including it. So we generally include scripts internally by us also. Generally what happens, right? First of all, this page went up to 6,000 lines of code. We removed all the JavaScript in this page. We completely removed and we moved into a new JS file, and we have attached that file into static resources, and we are referencing the static resource here to minimize the number of lines of code in this current page. Same thing we have done here. So there is a lot of CSS code. These are all CSS. Okay, all the CSS we have first created here. It's becoming too big. What we did is we removed all the CSS and we copied into a new file, and we uploaded into the DSA assets in static resources, and we are referencing the style sheets also. See, this is the style sheet which we are referencing and app.js is the JavaScript file which we are referencing for this page. And there are a lot of JavaScript we are including. So these are other third-party JavaScript libraries for minimizing the effort or for advancing the for better animations or for better requirement. Okay. So still there is a lot of JavaScript and CSS in this current page. You can minimize that. So this is the JavaScript start from here and it's ending around 2000 lines. These are all JavaScript jQuery functions which we are calling. But some of the functions cannot be removed directly from here because we are referencing some images and stuff. That's the reason we kept here. Otherwise, we already moved thousands of lines of code into the other main resource file. These are all jQuery things. Actually, so this simple line, if you want to write in JavaScript, it takes around 30-40 lines. jQuery is minimizing the effort of this. Okay. So this simple line is having a lot of functionality. It's going to search for the child element with this name, and I am removing this particular class. Same thing if you want to write in simple JavaScript, it takes 40 to 50 lines to do this current functionality. Okay. So there are around, this is not changing, but there are around 4000 lines in here in this. So we are using a lot of Apex tags, that's fine. The form tag, okay. And inside that we are using a lot of HTML tags also. Div tag is HTML tag, table tags are all HTML tags, right? This is not a Salesforce tag. TDs or TRs, table, div. So we have separate tags in VisualForce programming. That's it. So this is a really complex page. Okay. Let's go back to like other Eclipse. Yeah, now it's loaded properly. I'm trying to kill this. Yeah, now I have it here. So now I have opened. Now I have created this training partner org. This is what I created today. I'm trying to expand this. I'm trying to close all the other pages which are already open in the Eclipse. So I'm expanding this. This is the source, and you have a lot of resources in this because I have downloaded all the resources. So all the arrow symbols what you have means there is some components inside it. For suppose I am expanding the applications. See, these are all the custom applications what we have created in this edition. Tab request, conference, EJ2 tech, LH employees, restaurant review. These are all apps. And for suppose if you want to know the classes in this edition, just expand this. These are all the classes, Apex classes available in this. In this edition, because some classes are duplicated because by my participants. Okay? You can also access this as I shared the login to you all. For suppose if you want to use my what's the class name which I'm using here in the page, Ajax class, right? Right. See, when I'm searching with Control Shift R, it's going to search all the projects in this current Eclipse. But what I'm doing is, see, here there's Ajax class from training partner, or I'm trying to open this. This is what I created because I also created one more project with a different name in the same instance. That is this Salesforce.com training partner org 100 demo. This is also the similar organization, but I'm not using it now. See, and there is an error in this app, means there are some changes happened. This means there is some errors which is in this code. If I want to get the latest code, right click on this, host.com, refresh from server, which brings the latest code from the server to this project. So the username is changed, that's the reason it's not syncing. Right click on this, go to force.com, click on project properties, and I'm trying to change the security token as well as password because I changed it 2 times after that. Now I'm trying to refresh the project in my Eclipse, the new token. Yes. So would you like to override the changes in force.com project in this? Yes. So it's connecting to server. It's connected now. So action support, you have good idea now. Okay. Now let's use action color with images. So this this shows I have uploaded an image called Symphony underscore logo in my static resources. I'm trying to use that images here in my action polar example, and I'm refreshing. After 5 interval of time, I'm changing the logo from that to this and this to that. Okay. So let's open the static resources. I'm expanding develop. I'm going to static resources. The logo which I'm using is this. This is coming from the managed package. That is the reason I'm using the managed package. The managed package name prefix is Synity. Synity underscore underscore Synity underscore logo is the reference link for this image. That's what I'm using here in my page. Okay, and output panel is the tag which is printing this. And this is having the ID called out. Okay, this is the open tag, and this is the end tag. That is this, and there are 2 images included inside that. The one is for Symphony and one is for loading. This is the loading image, but I am trying to show and hide the images in these two, between these two. There are 2 images. I am showing one and I am hiding other, and I'm hiding other, and I'm showing other. That's how I'm doing. So there is a image img1, img2 is the flags. These are flags whether to show image or not. When I'm calling this interval after 5 seconds each and every time, if you go back, so first of all, let's count how many variables, methods are here in this class available here. One class, that is action polar, and this is the flag. This is a variable, I can say. The result of this image one is true or false. Okay, and the result of image 2 is true or false. This is a flag, means a Boolean variable. There are 2 variables, 1, 2, and method. That's it. 2 variables and 1 method. These are Boolean variables. There is a 1 method and 1 class. That's it. Now I want to show this example coding in my Eclipse instead of showing here. It's taking some time to load the previous project. It's waiting for my okay. So let's click on Action Polar class. So here, if you open here, there are 2 Boolean values, that is img2 and img1 with getter and setter methods. So when we are trying to access these values on the page, you have to add getter and setter methods for the variables which are accessible on the page. That's the reason I'm adding getter, get and set method for these 2 variables. And the change is the method which changes the flags. If img1 equal to false, I'm converting img1 equal to true. Else means, what is else loop? If img1 equal to true, it goes into img1, right? If it is false, means it will go into else loop, obviously. Means img1 equal to true, then I'm changing img1 equal to false. It's switching the flag from false to true and true to false. Same way with this also, img2. If img2 equal to true, convert into false. Else, what is the else? Else scenario is img equal to false. Then that will convert into true. I am switching the variables from false to true and true to false. If img1 equal to true, img2 will become false. If img2 equal to true, img1 will become false at the same time. So that is the reason at a time you don't see 2 images on the screen. You are going to switch. If that is available, this is hidden. If this is available, that is hidden. And the switching is happening, means the flags are changing for every 5 seconds. Because of this method, the change method is having all this logic, right? Changing logic inside change method, right? So that's it. So, and the one thing we've forgotten, that there is a re-render method at the end of action polar, which is refreshing the output component, and that component will automatically refresh after the change method is called, means after the flags are changed, and now the new images are automatically shown and hidden accordingly. Yeah, now I'm done. So let's search for polar class. This is the polar class which I'm showing with you on the screen, and action polar image. Action polar image, this is the page. In the training partner org, that's what I want to open, because this is from different organization. So if you see now, still there are some errors on the classes and triggers. Now I want to refresh that. Select the tracker classes and triggers of the previous project and right click on this. Select refresh. Go to force.com. Select refresh from server. Means I'm trying to load the new data for these 2 components from the server. So I want to show you all the options available. The first option is creating project. By clicking on new force.com new project, it's created. Later on, you can select the components according to your need, and it obviously saves data to you. Okay, into your create a project in your system, Eclipse IDE, and later on, you have an option to deploy to server. What is deploying? Deploying means you are moving components from one organization to another organization. So if you are trying to move organization to the same organization, means it's called saving. For suppose I am now changing interval to 10 digits. Okay, the action without example. What I have to do? See, when I am changing this data, it says star symbol, means it's modified. I am putting Control S now, Command S in Mac. It automatically building workspace. It checks whether there is any errors or not. If not, it will try to save things to the cloud server. Save is only for existing project, existing data. You are saving to the existing organization only. Deploying is from one organization to another organization. For suppose I'm right clicking on this. I want to deploy this Apex class to other instance. I'm going to force.com. I'm clicking on deploy to server. That's the last option. Refresh from server is I'm loading data from the Salesforce instance to this. Means the latest data on Salesforce will be copied down to this. It's overridden. Save to server means the opposite way, from Eclipse to Salesforce. Synchronize with server means this is a separate thing where if you don't know what edition is true, or which edition is perfect, which data is perfect, then you click on synchronize with server. It automatically shows comparison between the local data, local page to the force.com on the server page, where you can compare. If you feel that Eclipse data is true, and now you can click on save to server later on, or else you do refresh from server if you think force.com data is true. That is for synchronizing or comparing with the server copy. Deploy to server is for deploying things to the another instance, not to the same instance. Okay. If you click on deploy to server, it's going to ask about the security token, password, and username again for another organization, not for this organization. See, I have to give the target organization details here, and I have to click on next. It's going to check the Apex code coverage. If it is everything is good, and it will deploy things to the instance, to the final instance. You can deploy things like that. I'll show some simple deployment. So most people use Eclipse deployments for deploying things from developer to QA sandbox, developer sandbox to QA sandbox, and QA to full copy sandbox, and later on from full copy to, and again, if that is really working good, you finally deploy to your production instance on the weekdays, on the weekends where people are not using in the system. If your deployment deploy items are not working properly on the production instance, then you will roll back the changes very immediately. Okay, and you cancel the deployment plan, and you fix the issues because what happened on that, and again you deploy it after fixing the issues by next week or next week. That's how deployment works. So these are the options available in Eclipse. It's really cool. So one good advantage of using Eclipse is you are not going to lose data on page refresh. For suppose if you are developing some big component of 600 pages page or class, for suppose if you by mistake, if you have not saved and if you clicked on refresh on page, it completely lost, right? You are not you generally don't get the data which is written by you. Okay, and for suppose when you are writing Apex class, if you have any error on the page after writing 100 lines, if you are trying to save the things, it won't save, right? But it won't save, or it even if you refresh or if you come back from launch, it's completely gone. Means if you refresh, you can't save it, or you have to copy, or you have to take it in a notepad. But in Eclipse, even though if there is error, this is a local application where your data, your line of code is completely constant. It won't save to server until and unless you click on Control S. Even though if there is any errors, it will show it on the page by checking with your server. And if there's any errors, it won't save to the database, but the copy will be here in your system, and you can do the changes whenever you want. That's the benefit of Eclipse. But most people will prefer front-end coding also for quick modifications. And there is one more option for you guys. That's Developer Console. See, it's saying the administrator has changed the definition of the page. There is a new version available. Now I'm clicking on refresh. So now you see the 10 interval time. Earlier it's 5, right? This changes happened from Eclipse because I've tried to save things from Eclipse. So now the time lag is 10 seconds. It changes data every 10 seconds. Not 5 seconds. Okay. And let's so do you want me to explain the action polar thing again? So there's nothing here especially. Same example of action polar. Visual tags. If you are having confusion in the Apex methods and stuff, how to use it, because this is a page you have video on that. But on the I'm formatting this so that it works. So so if you need to know about this Apex classes, you need to first make sure that you know what are variables in Apex and stuff. So I will quickly introduce about the Apex variables methods available with that from the cheat sheet, what we have. Yeah. So after explaining this, I will be back again with VisualForce pages and again classes, because I can't explain very basic examples. Means without Apex, I can't explain very examples of this page without Apex thing. As we have already tried standard controllers and how to use that. That's really simple in the base class. You can build standard controller pages very easily, even now. But the main thing most customers is asking is now about custom controllers and classes. Okay, so let's quickly go through this Apex keywords and methods, collections, all this stuff. And I have some set of examples where you can understand very easily how to use these keywords and examples in general Apex methods, which are, I'm going to create some methods which are plain methods which are not used by any VF page, where I can execute these methods from the developer console. By calling that method, I can execute that. Okay. And so these are important keywords where we use. Okay. Abstract keyword. So this stipulates that this method is abstract. Okay. And break for breaking the loop. So I'm executing this loop a number of times. If you want to break at some condition, I can break this with this break keyword. It breaks the entire loop. Exits from that. catch exception, try catch things will be used whenever you're trying to save data. For suppose if you're inserting some account records, you use that insert accounts in the try loop. So if you're doing in that, if there's any error, for suppose if there's a validation error saying that the account number needs to be 7-digit thing, because the developer don't know about that and he tried to insert this. If he's using in try catch, it shows the exception and you can catch that exception, you can print it on the page. Otherwise, if you are not doing this, it shows the error which don't show any reason and which is completely VisualForce error, some problem error, validation error, it shows it. It don't show what the error is. If you are using catch loop or try catch thing, it shows the proper exception on your page. And class is useful for defining the class. We use the class definition also here. Simply public class name, and the brackets of the brackets. So inside that you can create the variables methods, okay. And continue keyword is for skipping to the next step by starting the current step. Which is related to break also. Break and continue are useful in the loops. Do while. So if you're using do while loop, at least one time the code will be executed inside the loop. At least one time. If you are using if loop at the starting, if the condition is false, it won't execute at least one time also. But in this case, it executes at least one time, the complete code inside that. If the condition is false, we are checking the condition at the end of the loop. That's the reason we are executing at least once. Else loop is usually in if else. So if x equal to 0 means this executes this. If all the other possibilities, if x is greater than 0 or if x is less than 0, all comes into else loop. So there you can also insert sub else loops. Okay. For suppose if x equal to 0, the first loop. Again, the sub loop is else if x less than 0. Else, obviously there is only one possibility, is x greater than 0. The law final thing. Enum defines the enumeration type. For suppose you want to put the stages of our colors, you can use that. For suppose we don't have any data type called season, so we can create a enumeration type for season with winter, spring, summer, and fall. Same way with the colors. Also, what you are trying to use in the current requirement, you can use that. So yeah, after that we can use like season.e equal to season.winter, so that we are assigning the winter winter value to this enumeration type. That's how you can use. We use a very less. Okay, so I have not used this. Okay, and extends is for extending another class or interface method or interface. Okay, interface class. So sometimes we extend the classes given by Salesforce by default rows. Okay. Suppose whenever you're trying to create the messaging classes, email messaging classes, you can extend the messaging class by Salesforce. Okay. And false is the boolean variable, so you can assign this value to the boolean variable. It's a value assigned to the boolean variable. And final keyword, so defines actually static final key. So this defined, this is the final. You're not going to change the value. So this is the definition. Okay. You want to make this variable constant, which cannot be overridden by any other variable. Okay. Any new value. And finally is using the try catch block is the extension of try catch block. Okay. So this This loop, the last loop will be executed even though if it is executed or not. This is a passive thing. For suppose if you are trying to do some updations or deletions, if there is an error, it goes to catch loop. And if finally if you want to do some modifications in the finally loop, you can do some patchwork or you can send some report to your, you can save some data to your another object saying there is error while saving the data, there is success while saving the data. That thing you can do it in the finally loop of the try class. It's extension of this. We mostly we don't use this finally block. We use only try catch. That's interviews, and it depends on your current project coding practices. If they really want to do something after try catch, something to be executed, you have to use this code. And for loop is essentially used, okay, not programming to parsing the list, to parse the object data. Okay, if there are 500 items in a list, you can parse it with a for loop by incrementing the operator I++. So this loop is generally used in general programming languages, but Salesforce, you can parse even the list of accounts. You can parse sets. You can parse accounts, contacts, anything you can parse it. This is the syntax for that. So here you are parsing the integers, list of integers. In the second, for example, you are parsing the accounts. You are simply, see, for the account A, select ID name from account where account like starting with S. Okay, means if there are 50 accounts are starting with S in your organization, the for loop will be repeated 50 times by in the same order of 1, 2, 3, 4 up to 50, and we can execute the code inside the logic. For 50 accounts, I can do some operations at the same time, and I can finally save the records at the same time to the database with a single insert statement by using the list of accounts and saving to that. Okay, so that lists and maps are called collections in Salesforce. Okay, and so I think I already explained the session to you all, but I will go very quick walkthrough. Okay. And the global class is useful to write web service methods when you are trying to give access of this global class to third-party systems. They can also access this method. They can also access this class, and they can request some information from your class. So there are three access variables: private, public, and global. We use a lot in these three things. Private means another. So in the same organization, another class also cannot call the methods inside this. In the public, if two methods are public, one method. If there are two public classes, I can call method inside another public class from here directly. If there is a public method, you can call the public methods inside the organization from another class, but you cannot call private method from another class. If you are from the same class inside the private method, inside the private class only, then you can call inside methods only. Private method will give access only to the inner methods to access the methods inside it. Public, you can call the other methods also in the organization. Global, it's open to all. Even SAP guy can request data from this class. They can call this class. Okay. This is useful in integrations. That's what, when you are trying to build global means enterprise integrations, we use global web service classes. And if loop we use for validating the condition, and if it is true, you do some operation. Otherwise, no. Otherwise, you go with else loop. Implements keyword. So we are taking some features of the messaging class, inbound header class, that we are implementing that features in this current class. that implement keywords is useful for implementing from the main class given by Salesforce. So messaging.inbound email handler is given by Salesforce to send emails to other systems. So in that case, if my requirement is send emails, I have to implement this class in my custom class, and I can send emails to other systems simply with less number of lines of code. And instance of, so this verifies whether the current object is instance of that object or not. Okay. Okay. This simply returns true or false. If that is true, I can do some operation. Otherwise, no. Instance of keyword is to verify whether that object is instance of the particular class or not. So interface method. So we define it and we can extend these methods. This is the keyword for the different interface methods, interface classes. These are reserved keywords. Again, these are extended. Okay. New. So new is useful for defining the new variable. Okay. If there is an object called foo, okay. If I want to create a new foo, so if foo is, so foo f1 equal to new foo means I am creating a new object with this method. So I am creating new items. First of all, if I want to create a new string s equal to new string, I am creating a new string called s now. And value null equal to, we can assign null value if there is no value assigned to the variable. So boolean values like this you can assign. You can even assign null value if you are not entering any value to any text value. The default value is null inside it. Override. So this helps to override another virtual class that can be implemented, that can be extended or implemented. Okay, and the private method. This is the access thing. Okay, we can control the access of the page or methods with this private method, where only the private inside methods only the inside method can only access this method. Private, you can also assign some private variables if you want to. If you think that there is some important variables for security you have to maintain, if there is a password and username inside, we are trying to use that, we can make them private and we can use that so that other classes cannot access this data. Protected component is also there. This is useful. You can define the access with the protected, so only the inner classes can access this method. Only the subclasses of this class can access this protected method, not the other classes which are not related to this. Okay. This method is only visible to the inner methods, okay, to the inner classes which are extending this service, okay. And public is the general modifier we use a lot in all the classes, in all the controller classes and general classes. Return keyword is useful to return values to your from the method. Okay. For suppose if you are calling some method, initially we are calling some method called change, but there we are not returning anything. We are simply setting some value. But generally, in methods, if you are passing some inputs like I and j values, if I am trying to do some logic, I into 2 by plus j into 10, some logic if you are calculating, and if you want to send the final value, I can use the return statement at the end. I can return the value what is coming from that result inside that method. So I can build very, very big methods, and I can do a lot of processing inside that logic. I can write it, and finally I have to use the return thing to return it. So if I am returning the integer value, I have to define public integer. The method, in the method definition, I have to use integer. If I am returning nothing, I have to use void. If I'm returning decimal, I have to use decimal there. If I'm returning string, I have to use public string method name, and in the return thing, I have to return only strings. Okay. If you are returning the other type of data, then it will show some error on this, on the error on the runtime. Okay, it will show some error returning bad type, bad data. Okay, and static keyword, so it makes the method initialized once, and it is associated with the outer class, and you can use this method from the child classes. Similarly, like a static final static and final variable. So this cannot be changed. Okay, it's a constant keyword. You cannot be overridden. So earlier we have used the final keyword. This is the same line. So so super keyword, it's a method which invokes the constructor of the super class. What is a constructor? Constructor is the method which is with the name which is similar to the class name, and the constructor method will be called whenever you are calling that class. But in this case, there are two classes. One is parent class and one is child class. Okay, child class is extending. Okay, so if there is a generally if there is a class called vehicle, so and there is a new class called car. Car is extending vehicle because vehicle is like a mission, right? So vehicle can have two-wheeler, three-wheeler, four-wheeler, or car like this. So I'm extending one more method, four-wheeler. Now, if I'm calling super method inside the vehicle, inside the four-wheeler class, means I'm going to call the vehicle constructor. The vehicle is the super class for this four-wheeler. Test methods. This keyword is useful to create test classes. For creating test methods. So this is important keyword to run test classes or to get test coverage in your application. This keyword is useful to run the current instance of the class. Throw is for throwing an exception inside the try class loop. Okay. If the condition is satisfied, I can throw some exception on my own. I can create own custom exceptions also. So you can put the logic here. Transient keyword is useful to decrease the page size. As I said, VF pages, when they are loading some data from Apex, right? So there is a limit for that, 135 KB. If that is becoming more and more, the page will not respond properly, and so there is error shown on the page if the data is coming big. So we can use transient keywords to minimize that page size, okay, for some of the variables inside your FF class. This is for reducing the page size of the data what you are loading onto the FF page. And important reserved keywords, the other thing is trigger. So trigger is useful for initializing the Apex triggers. True, assigning the value to our Boolean value. Try catch loop. Web service, useful to define the method of global web service classes. While loop, for while loop you generally know, you can it's a loop which will this loop will generally go from 1 to 11. This will run it. Okay, so we can use for loop also, while loop and if loop. And there is one more thing called case. So switching. Okay, if you want to all the case switching is useful for sending data to different groups. If there are 4 cities, if city equal to Hyderabad, I can print something. If city equal to, I can assign some value to increment that. City equal to this, I can increment this. That's the case thing. It generally distributes this. So we use less this type of loops, but we use essentially for loop and if loop. With sharing keyword, useful to apply sharing rules to the current class. So with sharing, if you are adding this particular keyword before in the class definition, it says that you are applying sharing rules, all the data will be shared. So if you are not using with sharing keyword, or if you are using without sharing, means your page will be getting data of all the organization on system administration mode. What is system admin mode? System admin mode means he is having all the data access. If I am using with sharing keyword for the sales rep, he can see only data what he has access to. If I'm using without sharing, he can see the data of all the organization in his VF page. Without sharing keyword means it generally runs the user in a system admin mode. It will not enroll sharing rules. So if it is not there, it runs on the default system context. Virtual class, okay, define. So this virtual classes allows extensions and overriding thing, okay. You cannot override a method. You cannot override a method without this keyword. You cannot override the method, okay. So you cannot override the method which is not having this virtual keyword. That's what it's saying. I haven't used this. So we use very basic things in some of our requirements, but we can use all this stuff. So all these keywords, all these concepts is very similar to the Java thing, okay. All the polymorphism, inheritance, all these concepts are already embedded from Java only. And even the same thing is available with .NET also. And there are annotations, especially in Salesforce. I don't know if these are available in Java or not. So at future, annotation is useful to run methods asynchronously in future. So I have example in my edition, so you can explore this also. So for suppose if you think that there are a lot of things to be executed, you can assign some methods which are dependent. So you can run at feature method for all the methods which need some data and which takes some time to get the data from other methods. All the feature methods will run asynchronously whenever they have proper resources, okay. And each test annotation is useful to make it's a test class, test method. So at each test, so all the test classes will be having at each test keyword at the top of the class. Each test on install equal to true. This is for adding test class for the manager packages. So this runs only on package installation, these test classes. And see all data equal to true key attribute inside this annotation is for making this test class access to the data in the organization. Generally, the test classes what you were written will not use the data what the organization have. If you are giving see all data equal to true, they can access the data from the organization. Otherwise, you have to get the data sample data for your test class, and you have to execute this, and you have to make sure the expected result is equal to the actual result coming from the test class. For suppose if you are expecting the total number of values what you have inserted is 4, and after doing all the methods and things, at the end you generally count the number of values in the test class. If it is equal to 4, then your test class is perfect, working. And you can also validate with system.assert, system.assert equals to the type of keyword to compare your expected result equal to the actual result in the test classes. Deprecated keyword useful in app exchange packages. Whenever you feel that the method will not be used anymore, you use this thing so that they cannot modify or use this in future updates. Okay, read-only keyword useful to make, and that it won't write any queries. It won't it won't submit any data to the system. It generally queries. So with this read-only keyword, you are going to extend the number of extraction of rows limit on the request. Because if you are putting DML statements, means you are modifying some data, you cannot put read-only. If you are giving read-only means you are not modifying any data, and that's the reason they are extending the SOQL limits. So defense method that can perform queries unrestrictedly by the number of return rows limited for a request. Unrestricted by number of rows, return rows. And remote action. So I can use this remote action, okay, for my VF page. So for implementing the JavaScript remoting. So this method must be static. The remote action method must be static and a global method, which executes remotely, asynchronously. Okay. And REST resource is for annotation useful for REST integrations. For suppose if you want to give an URL where some other people can call that URL and can get the data access from Salesforce, I have to map a URL here with the URL mapping keyword, and later on the class is assigned with this particular REST resource and URL mapping will be called automatically when someone is hitting this URL. They are going to call this class, and they are going to call some methods, and they can get the data from the Salesforce system. We have to share this service to them, how to use this. Okay, and these are all the annotations for get, set, get, post, delete, patch. Getting is for getting the data. Okay, post for is for updating it or inserting it. Patching is for update. Put for is for only saving it, inserting. Delete for removing the data from the system. These are annotations for your REST method, REST class. You generally add these particular keywords before the methods. These are primitive types which you use in Salesforce. These are variables, okay? Blob for defining the data or any big data, okay? So in the binary format, Boolean, it's a flag value, true or false, date, time, these are all Apex primitive types, you can use this. Decimal will accept the decimal values where it has a number of decimals with integer, means they can have a number of decimals like this, 18.25 like this. You can define what is the digits, actual digits, and how many decimals also. And double is the big keyword with decimals also. 64-bit number, it's bigger thing. Integer is for only 32-bit number, and long is 64-bit number but without decimals. These are without decimals and these are with decimals, but both are having the same limits in terms of size, 64-bit and 64-bit. And there's a limit minus 2463 is the minimum value, and maximum value is 2463 minus 1. These are the limits of long values. This is the limits of integer values. This is the ID. Salesforce ID is 18-digit ID.
It's here. Okay. It's the unique identifier in your force.com to identify your record. So these IDs are very specific to organization. So you cannot use the ID of account record to other organization. You have to use in the same organization because that's unique inside the organization. And time is it's particular time. It has a timestamp also with hours, minutes, seconds, and milliseconds also. String we generally use a lot. Okay, string s equal to assigning the value to this in single quotes. You have to assign like this. So if you want to get a new string, string s equal to new string, and yes, I can define it in later times. Okay, and these are collection types we use a lot: list, map, and set. List is the ordered collection of any primitive types. Okay, it can be list of strings, list of integers, list of doubles, list of long integers, list of accounts, list of contacts, list of. You can also save the object details also. List of account is having hundreds of accounts. For suppose if your system has thousands of accounts, you can store all the accounts in a list, so that each account will be having again hundreds of fields. You can access like acc of one dot name will give you the second account name. Acc of 0 dot name will give you the first account name. Acc of 0 means it's so ACC in the square brackets, if you put 0, it's the first record. ACC is the list. Inside the list, what is the first item? This we are calling it indexes. Okay. And ACC of 10 means 11th record. 11th record dot phone means it will give the 11th record's phone number. That's how you can use the lists. There are a lot of methods for list: adding, clearing, cloning, deleting, and sorting. All these are methods. I have a special methods for this where I can show these demos with in Apex class how the data will be loaded and how to insert, how to clear, how to clone, all these stuffs in one class. Same thing with the map class. Same type of methods are available, but it's no, it's not the same type of methods. It's having some unique methods. So for inserting data here in list, you generally use add, list dot add. List dot remove is for removing the data, that particular data. Okay. Map as having key pair values. So you generally store some unique values in the key and the values inside the value. Okay. For suppose if I want to store my accounts, I can store ID of my account in key and the complete account details in account. So I have to create map of ID comma account is useful for that. I can use primitive types even in maps also, string of strings. Okay. First, suppose if you want to create a map for your employee ID and your name, I can use employee. If my employee ID is a string like EMP10004, that is your employee ID. If there is a string, I can use this map string of string equal to employee map equal to new map string of string, and I can add the values like this. See. Or I can also put values like this: employee map dot put employee ID comma employee details, employee name. Like that, you can put information into the map. Same way. So, and there are some methods for this: clearing map, cloning map, all this stuff. Same way. Set for is the unordered set. So here this stores all values, but here in set is a similar to list, but it won't store all values. It store only unique values. It will make duplicates. For suppose if I am inserting set of integers, if I am inserting a repeated value that is 4, which is already inserted before 2 times, Then now I'm inserting again. It won't again insert. It will, because it's already there. That's why it won't insert. This is for ordered set. That's the reason it's not ordered. If you're inserting 50 values, if out of that there are 20 duplicate values, now the actual now if there are 50 values, if you're trying to insert, if there are 20 duplicate values, now the size of this set will be 30 only, because there are 20 duplicate values which are not inserted here. Because if you're inserting four times in the complete set, it generally inserts only one time. Okay. And the methods are almost very similar to the set methods, sorry, list method. List and set have very similar methods. And the below things are trigger context variables. And we are going to work on many, at least 5 to 6 triggers with some requirement in mind. Okay. And I have some triggers in my organization also. I want to get some more triggers in this class. So this triggers is useful to execute some action or operation before, after insert, or before, after update, before or after delete, before or after undelete also. Yeah. So insert, when you are inserting some data, if you want to do some actions, then you can do it after insert. I can use after insert trigger and I can run on the lead object. It depends on the requirement. So if that cannot be done with validation rules or workflow rules, then only you have to pick triggers. If you are choosing triggers means you cannot do this requirement with the basic things, then only you can to write trigger, and generally this may take some more time because you have to analyze, you have to write the Apex programming for this class, right? And these are trigger context variables, old map and new map. New is a list of new records. New map is the map of new records. Old is a list of old records. Old map is the map of old records. And size will tell you the number of records trying to insert or updated or old or new. Old dot size will give the old record size. New dot size will give the new record size. Old record means that record is already available in the system, which you are trying to delete and which you are trying to update. And Apex DML operations. These are operations what you can do with Apex programming. Simply, if you want to insert lead data, this is a simple line you have to do it. Lead L1 equal to new lead is the initialization of lead, and you are passing some data like company equal to ABC, last name equal to Smith. This is the data what you are defining for this lead L. Now L is the lead because you have defined lead L equal to new lead. You have defined it like that. So you have initialized it like that, and you are defining the values with these details. And if you click on insert L, means you are inserting the data. There's no need to write insert lead company equal to all this information. Simply you initialize, define, and insert the variable what you define with. Here L is the variable lead, that is the lead. Insert L will automatically insert the record. If there are many records, hundreds of records, I can also save in list of leads. In that case, I use list of lead, lists equal to new list of leads. I can pass hundreds and thousands of leads into this list of leads, and with the simple statement inserts lists means it automatically inserts all the data of the 1000 records into the database. This is very simple. You no need to integrate database, you no need to initialize database servers, all this stuff. It's already integrated. You simply need to initialize the object, call the initialize, you define the data for that record,
insert them. Same way delete. You want to delete, you need the IDs of it. For that you have to query first. This is for querying. Account brackets means it's list of accounts. Doomed account, select ID name from name where name equal to .com. All the account names with the .com will be copied down into doomed accounts, and you are trying to delete the records. Delete doomed accounts. You automatically delete all the doomed accounts. If there is any trigger or anything blocking us to delete, it goes to the catch exception. Sometimes, if that is in the process of workflow rule or in the process of workflow rule which is in progress, then it won't. We cannot delete that record. Or in the process of approval process, you cannot delete that record because there are some independent objects which are depending on that particular account. That is the reason you cannot delete that type of record. In that cases, you might get some error on this catch block. Same way, there is a merge. You can merge two accounts with the similar names. That's the requirement here. And when you are trying to merge it, it's generally going to use both account details. And undelete is for restoring back to from the recycle bin to your instance with undelete keyword. How to check all the deleted keywords? First of all, you can run a simple query. Select ID name from account where name equal to remove, where name equal to trim. If you put all rows means it even shows the all deleted accounts also. All rows is the special keyword to show all the deleted rows also. Even though if your rows are deleted, it's still available in your database, but there is a simple checkbox called is deleted equal to true. But still the data is available in your instance only. After 15 days, it's going to be deleted. Before that, if you run this undelete command, you can restore the data to your account object again. So and update. So update is for updating the current object records. For that also you need to query first. Later on you have to update the values and you can update it. And upset means combination of insert plus update. Okay. You can try creating a number of items things. If the value is already available in the system, it updates. If that is not available, it's going to insert the data into the system. That's it, guys. So let's close the class for today. If you guys have any questions, we can meet today evening. Okay. And yeah, so I do have some slides from VisualForce and Apex training, but that's having around 600 pages on describing all this information. That's a lot of waste of time, but I can even show that if you want me to do in today's evening call. So it's have very initial every slide it shows very basic description of what the variable all this stuff. Yeah. So it's better to not use that document. That's a general corporate training by VisualForce. So they charge thousands of dollars, around $6,000 per candidate for training on Apex and stuff. So that's again they train for around 5 days, full days from morning to evening, and it's a very basic information. Okay, it won't be helpful at all. Yeah, and again you have to practice a lot. So if you have time, so just please you can look into the examples in the edition, and you can try same examples in your developer edition also. Okay. That's it, guys. If you have any questions, you can ask now, and we can meet in the evening class also. That's mostly for Q&A, and if you don't have any questions, we're going to work on some examples as we have done with very basic description about the keywords and things in today's class. And today we can work directly on examples after explaining very basic things I think this is I can explain in the first 5 minutes, and later on I can work on examples. I have a sheet for that. So we'll be using Eclipse entirely, and I would like to show you some examples on developer console, how to create classes, how to create workspaces there. That's also easy way to, it's like IDE on cloud. Okay. Okay, new project. Yeah. So this is the new project which I created today. I'm about to do it again. Right click here, click on new force.com project. So you can click on this project explorer at any point wherever you can. Okay. Right click, new force.com project. It asks the project name. You can give any name with your project name or organization name and your username also sometimes to identify uniquely, and your username and password and token. If you click on next, you can choose the first option. That's fine. Most of the people, I generally use the first option because we generally use Eclipse. So we generally use Eclipse for developing Apex pages, VF pages, triggers and stuff, only coding part. We don't use Eclipse for creating objects because, see, I want to show you how objects look like. This is the edition which I created. For suppose I'm going to my objects page that is here. I'm clicking on account object. You can see this is XML data. Yeah.
Do we need to add any plugin for Eclipse?
Exactly. You need to add a plugin for the first time.
Okay. What plugin is it?
That is force.com plugin. I can share you the link in SDS class, or else I can log into your edition. I can log in. I can show you a screen and I can install Eclipse in your Eclipse today. It takes very less time. Okay, I can do it on live demo so that other people also can see that. I can share your screen and I can do it from your side.
Okay, thank you.
So this is the account object. In front end, you generally seeing the simple fields, but here see it's like this. See, the industry field is defined from here. See, this is the industry field. Pick list value, pick list equal to industry. This is how it's. This is the industry field, which is having around 120 or more than that. Yeah, around from 214 to 350 lines of code. 130 lines of code for simple industry field where it's having pick list values. Same way, so pick list values are defined like this. For suppose if you want to see the field name that is SLA, this is the field name of SLA. This is a custom field. This is the fields. This is the tag for that. For defining a field, full name equal to SLA underscore C. Label is SLA. Pick list values are this. And if you see the serial number, this is a very simple field for number field because there's nothing here. But if you are making required equal to true, then there is one more tag added to here automatically. Like this. I can show some other field. So the account object is having around 1,350 lines of code. Completely, there's no gaps and lines, no spaces. Okay. So every field what you're creating is automatically created by, means it creates XML data in the backend for your field. You don't need to write this in Eclipse, but you can do modifications. For suppose if you want to modify the value of SLA type, you can simply modify directly from here. If you click on save, it saves directly in the backend also. Eclipse is generally used for deployments and writing the code, not for modifying the objects and stuff, but you can also do that. Some developers feel more comfortable writing fields, objects from Eclipse also. That's easy. Some possibly it's easy. I also done sometimes. I used to use Eclipse for creating fields directly from Eclipse before Schema Builder. After Schema Builder, I am feeling more comfortable. The Schema Builder is more comfortable than this. That's it, guys. It's meeting today's evening class.